What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, Sony. It's like they don't know what they're doing, but they do, but they don't. Because they're trying to be like a movie studio, which they are. Are they the best? Arguable. So, rumors, I don't think this is true, but whatever. Rumors is that they're trying to buy Warner Brothers, only because Warner Brothers, Discovery, whatever they are, is splitting up their company. So Warner Brothers, all of the, I believe the DC stuff, the movies, the streaming, the games, and the studios are gonna be another place, and then Discovery with the cable stuff, and I forgot what the split is, but Sony's like, ooh, that looks like a good split. We just want that split. And I'm like, how are they going to be able to afford Warner Brothers when they couldn't even afford by themselves Paramount? Remember, they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna maybe looking into buying. Oops, our investor got cold feet, so we ain't got no money, so we can't buy it. They say they're gonna buy it. They're not. They got other people paying for it. So is it them buying it? They don't have the money. They blew all their money on Concord. The greatest failure in the history of video games. Never forget. It's asinine. I was watching Turboverse TV. I watch him occasionally. I used to watch him all the time, but he's kind of a one note type of thing, and it's all good. But you know, his channel's pretty dope. But he did not agree with Sony buying Warner Brothers because Sony sucks at movies. I've said this before. The only good Sony Spider-Man movies were the first three. Well, the first two, Tobey Maguire, and the Into the animated ones. That's by Lord and West, or just Lord. I think just Lord. Lord and Miller? No. Yeah, Lord and Miller. Why did I say Lord and West? Lord and Miller. Anyway, and the reason why that is because Sony always has to, well, not always, but when they do dabble, when they do interfere into the creative process of making the movies, then that's when Spider-Man 3 happens. When Sam Raimi's like the biggest Spider-Man fan like on the planet, basically, and he was like the perfect person to make those movies. And then when the third one came around, they forced him to put in Venom and all this other stuff, and he was like, and it came out the way it did. It's like, yeah, that's Venom, but not really. It's kind of goofy. And so I have no faith in. Look at the last Sony Spider-Man movie that came out in the Spider-Verse. That is not Into the Spider-Verse, but what is the SMU, Sony Spider-Man universe? I don't even know what SMCU, SCMU, Sony Cinematic Spider-Man. I don't know what it's called, but whatever. Last one was Craven. I always do that. I always say Raven, and I drop the K. I think that's a subliminal thing from my past ancestors. No K's in. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. I saw the first, 11 minutes of it they showed. It was alright. It was cool. He was running up walls and stuff. I'm like, how what the hell? He get a bit of lion blood in his, and he's a super. I don't understand how Craven works, but I don't care. But from everything I've seen, I was like, man, nobody said anything good about Craven. You look at Morbius. It's Morbin time. That was bad. I watched that movie. That was not a good movie. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't like Birdemic or anything, but it was not great. I mean, the last Alien movie, what was it called? Alien Presumptuous. What was the last Alien movie called? Where they had the space station crash into Saturn's ring or something. It was dope. I was like, oh It's pretty dope. They did a good job of rehashing the Alien franchise. It was entertaining. But Sony, they're hungry to have hits wherever it is. And the one hit, like I said, is Spider-Verse movies, but it takes so long to make animation like that. And yes, it's groundbreaking and it's very cool. I give them all their flowers with that. But that's it. And I would say that that's a lot of it is Lord and Miller, because everything that they touch and complete is good. And that's where Lucasfilm, they're a bunch of dumbasses, because they fired them from Solo. And I was like, yeah, they make a Solo, it's gonna be dope. And then they fired them, like, great. Now it's gonna be, I don't know, Ron Howard good. I mean, I like Ron Howard. He couldn't save that one. I was like, damn, man. This shit, man. Anyway, it's very disappointing. But anyway, Sony trying to buy Warner Brothers will ruin any property that they own that they would obtain. Harry Potter, ruined. What else? Mortal Kombat, ruined. What else? And mainly because as far as the games go, I mean, yes, they'll obtain the studios, but a lot of those people will be like, I mean, especially the CEOs, they be like, we get to stay for how long, and then we can bounce and collect our checks. That's what all of them are doing. It's retirement time for them fools. So a lot of them are bouncing, you know. Ed Boon, he's like, I'm too old for this. I'm time to sell it off and buy me a castle in the Netherlands. I don't know where he wants to. Brazil? He's Brazilian, right? I think so. Anyway, yeah, it's like, it feels like every move that Sony makes is a little bit of desperation mixed in, because it's like, I mean, they failed miserably on live service, games of service, right? So do they think that buying Mortal Kombat would give them a games of service game? I mean, it's a tournament game. They have Evo, but has that panned out for them, monetarily speaking, or like just like brand wise? I don't think so. I mean, they're so desperate they have to make their own fighting stick, and like, I don't think anybody cares about that. They announced it, right, at their state of play or whatever. I haven't heard anybody talk about that stick, that fighting. Nobody's talking about that stick because nobody cares. The fanboys will buy it because it's this PlayStation fighting stick, but it's like, how are they gonna make a stick that's better than the best stick out there? I don't know. And it's not an arcade stick because, one, the buttons are, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. But this is the state of video games, the state of Sony. You look at Microsoft, they're making moves. They're about to come out. They got next gen plans. And the thing is you're looking at what's happening. I always say, pay attention to the fanboys, pay attention to the duck unicorns and the ponies, what they're saying. What they're saying is not, it's a part of their narrative, that for the winning team narrative, they want to say anything that they can to make Sony win, basically. And the sad part about it is that no matter what they do, they can't change the actual fate of PlayStation, which is, you know, as far as I'm looking at it, they're not doing what they need to do. And Sean mentioned this on the show today, Sean and Derek. And I've mentioned this before. Sony, they're trying to do the games of service stuff, right? They're failing. They've been failing. The history of PlayStation has failed. Go back and look at MAG. Massive Action Game. That's a bad name. Yeah, that was a failure too. Where's Resistance? Fall of Man? Why isn't that an ongoing, series? What happened to Killzone? Why isn't that the Halo killer that it was meant to be? Failures. And their failures are just, historic, right? From history to making it historic with Concord. And now you look at the Donkey Unicorns and Ponies and their narratives, and they're like, like Stellar Blade, right? That was a whole, it's so, Alex did a video on this where, dude, I don't know who it was. I forgot who went and did the math, the pony math. You know it's bad because it's pony math. And basically, it was, they took the amount of reviews, I think it was Steam reviews or something. They took the amount of reviews and extrapolated the reviews from the original release on PlayStation 5 to the Xbox release. And they took that ratio basically from sales to reviews, and that's where they extrapolate the number. So 22,000, I'm like, that's not how that works. That is not how that works. And everybody and their mama went and ran with the numbers. And I'm like, how you know how we got those numbers? By doing dumb ass math. Dumb ass math. That's what he did. Or she, I don't know who, whatever. I'd say is a person. I say is a male, because females are not that dumb to do what he did. So there you go. If I'm wrong, then, well, then that's a dumb female. But I don't think I'm wrong. I think it's a dude. Anyway, idiotic. It's like, oh, it's 400, and Puerto Rock ran with it too. It's 469 on, it's like, it's actually in the top 15. So I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, look, like I said, they're trying to make their team win. They're trying to make Sony win any means necessary. And look, the bottom line is the bottom line, and the facts are the facts, and the truth is the truth. And it's not about this person's truth or that person's truth. It's about the actual objective truth. And that is that Microsoft has usurped, they have ascended from that regular okie doke console war that has been happening for 30 years or so. And 40 years, 50, kind of 50, 45, 40 something years, 50 years. And they said, yeah, that's the minor leagues. Like Sony, Nintendo, y'all playing in the minor leagues. We going up to the major leagues up here where the big boys is at, where the big Apples is at, where the big Googles is at. You know what I'm saying? Where, you know what I'm saying? The big guys. Where the big $1 trillion corporations play. Y'all $1 billion. Get out of here with that little peanuts. The peanuts you got in your chair. Got change in your couch. We got islands. Pause. I'm just saying, it's definitely a different playing field. And if you look at how each corporation, like Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, how they're maneuvering through this landscape of video games, right? Like you see what Sony does. They're like, oh, we're just on cruise control. We're gonna do what we did last gen, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sell hardware. We're gonna do. That's all we're gonna do. And then they ain't got no games. It's like, we're still gonna do the hardware and stuff, but you need games. The reason why people like PlayStation is because they had those first-party bangers, those exclusive first-party bangers. Guess what you don't have right now? Exclusive first-party bangers. That's what you don't have. So what do you think is going to happen to your fan base? What do you think is going to happen to the people who like PlayStation and want those games? They're going to find the games somewhere else. And all Microsoft has to do is come out with a console that is reasonably priced. I don't know if that's going to happen now, but if they do pull a freaking Houdini and say, yo, check it, next Xbox, $499, like the home console joint. I don't think so, but mad people are going to buy it, period. That's it, and that's all. But I don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, Microsoft has been making moves this whole generation that I'm looking at Nintendo. I'm looking at Sony. I'm looking at Nintendo though, right? And I'm like, how did it has to be hubris, right? Because I'm like, how do they think they can get away with this key card code thing, right? No game on it, or half a game, not even a game, right? And like, hey, it's a physical copy, but you got to download it. But it's a physical copy, but it's not, but you can download it. I'm like, yo, you see what's happening right now, right? People are like, the sales, what are the sales like on that Switch 2? Not the console, but the games, because that's where you make all your money in the game, right? I mean, even though Nintendo's probably making a profit on each Switch, Switch 2, it's not that much. It's not as much as a game, and that's the point. So, yeah, the backlash has begun on the Nintendo side with this whole keycard Switch thing and them bricking consoles and stuff. They can keep doing that, and people are gonna be like, yeah, nah, I'm just chill. I'm gonna chill with the original Switch because y'all are foolish. And as far as they're concerned, they'll be like, sure. And then maybe a year or two later, they'll fix the Switch 2 so it's more like the Switch 1. I'm sure they have a plan. I'm sure they have a devious type of plan going on, but I don't think people are gonna get used to them bricking switches or them doing all that stuff, you know, or the key card garbage stuff. No. Yeah. And like I said, the sales of the physical games, an indication of kind of a failure of their idea, their business model. So we'll see. Microsoft is just like, yo, last thing. All these idiots, was it D-Batch, whoever else, I haven't been paying attention that much, who are saying that the next Xbox is going to be a PC. Dumbasses. First, the ROG Xbox Ally and Ally X are consoles. How do I know this? Because if you take the console and you flip it around, there's a sticker on the back of the console. And the sticker says console on it. It doesn't say PC. It doesn't say this is a PC, handheld PC. It says console. I think it says PC as well. But it's a console. And the thing is, it's like these fanboys are so stuck in old ways. It can be both. And the thing is, it's like the one thing I wanted to say, I didn't say the last video, but every console since the beginning of time has been a computer. Why do I say that? I think people's idea of computers are keyboard, mouse, giant monitor, CRT. You put a floppy disk in it, or or modern day, you don't have a disk; it's just a keyboard, laptop on your lap, or whatever. You have a desktop and there's RGB in it, and then you have drivers. A computer is a machine that has a CPU, central processing unit. That's what it is, right? Central, I think. Every console, I believe every console, I might be wrong about that, but I'll just say I'm not even going to talk about Atari because that was a weird system. Since the Sega Master System, NES, to now, have had chips in them. The Sega Master System had the Z80 chip. I think Motorola made that. But Genesis graduated to the 68,000. I believe that was a Motorola chip. And it's a big ass chip. It's like that big, right? It's just big. Here's why the Genesis was a computer, because that same CPU, that same chip was in the Amiga 500. How do I know? Because I have an Amiga 500 and I have a Genesis, and I opened them both up and I looked inside and I say, same chip in two different machines. Now, functionality wise, consoles are limited. They're not computers. They're worse than computers because you can only do one thing: play cartridge, play discs, play whatever. So if you're kind of bragging, or you're complaining, or you're trying to make an argument that it's not a console, it's a PC, that's actually a compliment, because PCs are better than consoles. Historically speaking, every single generation, except for, I would say, probably the Genesis, probably Sega Master System, NES, Genesis, and Super Nintendo, they were better, because PCs at the time weren't really designed for games. I mean, people made games for them because they're crazy and they wanted to, but that wasn't what computers were for. Computers were for word processing and business and stuff in school. That's it. And graphics at one point. So, but when gaming became a more viable kind of revenue or avenue for PCs, that's when they just blew past consoles. Like, it was in the 90s at some point. They blew right past them. And they never looked back. They've always been more powerful and better. You get the most powerful PC, you get the most powerful console, PC wins every time. But, sorry, I'm sidetracking a little bit. But, back to my original point, these chips that exist in consoles are PC brains, if you will. They were from the Genesis days. I'm not sure what chip Nintendo used, but they used, Yamaha chips, sound chips, which were in computers too. They had, I think Sound Blaster. Did Sound Blaster use the Yamaha? I think Sound Blaster, one of the Sound Blaster audio interfaces did use Sound Blaster, because I remember, I think it was Police Quest 2 or 3. I can't remember. But I had a demo. It was a demo disc or a demo. I think it was a disc where they had, this is how they make the music, and they split up all the stems. And I was like, oh, that was kind of like the first time I ever heard like when somebody splitting up the stems. This is way back in the day. And it was simple, and it was like Yamaha goofy sounds from the 16-bit era, but it was cool. I was like, oh, okay. And so, Nintendo used the Yamaha chip. I think they used the Yamaha chip, and I think Sega used the Yamaha chip in their arcades in the 80s. That's why their music was always banging in their games. So, there all these things that you're like, why? You're sitting here arguing that, oh, it's not a console, it's a PC, blah, blah, blah. It's like, look inside. Look inside. What's that? Oh, that's a circuit board. Look inside a PC. Oh, what's that? Oh, that's a circuit board. Oh, what's that? That's the CPU. Oh, what's that? That's the APU. You know where they get APUs from? Laptops. Did you know that? And actually, some desktop PCs, some low, cheapy ones, they use APUs. So, the computers that you don't need a graphics card, that's an APU. They have certain designations for those, and they're less powerful. They're like, oh, it's a 59, the laptop version of the 5090. And it's like, it's equivalent to like a 5070 or something. It's like, it's like, okay, well, why even put it as a 5090 if it's not performant like one? But that's NVIDIA's whole thing. They're just a bunch of snake oil salesmen over there. But once again, the internals, how consoles work, similar to PCs. Now, consoles have changed. I appreciate both, because consoles have improved the I/O in a way that it's like the data throughput, in a way that it's like, oh, what if PC did that too? Because right now PCs are more powerful, but they require way more power as well. So they kind of brute force their power, and that's what NVIDIA's been doing. That's why their graphics cards aren't that much more performant than the past generation, is because they just added more power and added some more silicon, and that's what they did. And instead of trying to find improvements in the silicon as far as efficiency, they did the other thing. They just added more gas to the fire, basically. Added more horsepower. They put a flow master on it, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, I appreciate you hanging out, Charlotte, and I like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Let me know what you think about Sony trying to buy Warner Brothers. Bad idea. And this whole argument that, oh, it's not a console, it's a PC, blah, blah, blah. Keep that shit. Anyway, I appreciate. I'll talk to you next one too. Wait.